Hello, my name is Caleb Hupka,
And I'm Louis Finney.
and today we're talking about Stuxnet, a virus that some people at Symantec have even called something in a completely different league from anything we had ever seen before. Stuxnet was implemented to target the Iranian centrifuges that were being used to enrich uranium. This was, on the surface at least, for the purpose of enriching uranium for nuclear reactors, but there were a lot of concerns about proliferation. The initial attack was done via USB sticks that were planted in the facilities, as far as we can tell, through human assets who managed to do things via social engineering. They also used multiple stolen certificates from two Taiwanese companies so that the software would appear as trusted when it was installed automatically on the computers via the USB drives when they were first plugged in to a computer. After it was into one computer, it could spread through the secure network.
Once on the Industrial Control System (ICS) network, the goal of Stuxnet was to find a programmable logic controller (PLC) and its corresponding microchips that controlled the rotation speed of the centrifuges. Enriching uranium is supersensitive. Think of a rod hundreds of feet long being rotated hundreds of times per second. Stuxnet exploited the delicacy of the system by alternating the speed of these centrifuges, spiking the number of replacements necessary. While the sensors were outputting poor data, the operators didn't know anything was going wrong initially because Stuxnet replaced sensor data with pre-recorded data from the system to indicate that it was operating just fine. This is an absolute nightmare for engineers. Possibly the cleverest part about this was how Stuxnet hid itself on the PLC computers. It would store the regular program in memory, and when someone wanted to access the PLC, it would present the old software stored. This means that engineers would be testing out their regular code that worked just fine, meaning that no one could locate the sources of the error. One of the unique things about Stuxnet was its ability to download cleanly on almost any computer operating system. This flexibility gave assurances to the attackers that the worm would be able to move and adapt to whatever system it was introduced into. It specifically targeted computers that had Siemens Step 7 software. Stuxnet was able to exploit Step 7 using a stolen secret password from Siemens that could then be used to modify the PLC. This exploitation allowed full control of the PLC software. Safeguards were placed on Stuxnet to ensure that only Iranian nuclear centrifuges would be affected. Those safeguards include knowing the exact PLCs that would be used for spinning uranium, checking for the two microchips, and checking the rotation speed of the engines to ensure that they were at a speed in line with enrichment. If these and numerous other conditions were not met, then Stuxnet would delete itself from the computer.
One of the key things that sets Stuxnet apart from other viruses is that it uses 4 separate zero-day Windows vulnerabilities. In addition, it uses a more commonly known at the time Microsoft Windows Server Service RPC Handling Remote Code Execution vulnerability. This is particularly rare because it is rare for a virus itself to use one zero-day vulnerability, but this used 4, and this showed just how invested the hackers were in ensuring that once they got their virus in, it would be capable of spreading to all other systems. One of the zero-day Windows vulnerabilities that they used was the print spooler vulnerability to allow them to hop between computers via printers that they were connected to.
The Stuxnet worm was in the Iranian facilities for a couple of years at least. The worm was initially discovered by Sergey Ulasin, who was working with Iranian clients attempting to figure out why Windows machines were getting the blue screen of death. Once Stuxnet had gotten into the wild, its discovery was inevitable. Its propagation was caused by a small bug in the code. Stuxnet was supposed to limit itself to infecting 3 new computers a day. This was broken by a small coding error, causing it to infect as many computers as it could. This spread eventually translated into the bug getting outside of the Iranians' network and onto private and enterprise computers. If it had remained in the Iranians' network, it is hard to say how long it could have persisted.
One of the things that also sets Stuxnet apart is that it is one of the first advanced persistent threats. And it really shows that nothing is 100% secure when enough money is thrown at finding a weakness. In this case, Stuxnet is most likely developed by a combination of the United States and the Israeli governments. And quite frankly, if they spend enough time, they will find a way in. So the countermeasures include stricter control of physical media devices and more audits on the network. But the real problem is that when you're talking about finding numerous zero-day vulnerabilities, it's hard to find much of a true defense against an undiscovered attack other than to be very careful about what you're plugging into your computer and to be checking what is really going on your network that you aren't aware of. And I hope it's clear at this point why it is that even Symantec engineers wound up finding themselves impressed with the beauty of Stuxnet. And this is Caleb Hupka signing off.
This is Louis Finney. Thank you.
Have a great day.